Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first VI Shots live in over 5 years. It's great to be back online, and it's great to see some familiar faces and a few new ones in the chat. Today, I'm excited to be part of something that I consider to be a historic event. Yes, this is historic, folks, in the long history of LabVIEW, which I've been a part of since LabVIEW 3.1. That's way back in 1994. But of course, LabVIEW has been around for over 30 years. Yet up until now, has been only accessible to engineers and scientists solving engineering challenges. The cost of LabVIEW license is considered cost prohibitive for many to use it for personal projects or using it at home or hobby purposes. Today, this is all about to change, and this VI Shots Live is all about an awesome announcement that National Instruments has come up with today. And to help us introduce this, here's Darren Nadinger from National Instruments.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Darren Nadinger, the 7-time undefeated world's fastest LabVIEW programmer. I'm sitting in my home office where I store school supplies, play the piano, and of course program LabVIEW, but not all at the same time. Today I'm in my home, so I can tell you how you can have LabVIEW for free in your home. For the first time, the software that powers the most advanced test and measurement applications is available free for non-commercial use with the release of LabVIEW Community Edition. In case you didn't know, LabVIEW is the world's most advanced graphical programming language used by hundreds of thousands of engineers and scientists every day. SpaceX uses LabVIEW, CERN uses LabVIEW, even the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, uses LabVIEW. But in addition to empowering complex applications, the intuitive nature of graphical programming makes it the perfect fit for your personal home projects as well. And with additional support for low-cost devices like the Raspberry Pi and BeagleBoard, LabVIEW's seamless hardware integration makes it easier than ever to get started. LabVIEW Community Edition provides exactly the same functionality as the professional versions of LabVIEW and LabVIEW NXG, which means you'll have access to the entire collection of core LabVIEW tools and libraries out of the box. So if you're ready to get started programming your home projects and have a lot of fun while you're at it, download the free LabVIEW Community Edition today.
So that was Darren Nadinger from National Instruments introducing LabVIEW Community Edition, of course. And there's many ways to get it. First of all, if you just go to ni.com LabVIEW Community, you can get it right now. And let's show you how that looks. So you'll be able to now go and download the LabVIEW Community. You have two versions that you can download. There's LabVIEW 2020 Community Edition and LabVIEW NXG Community Edition. And the only requirement to be able to download LabVIEW Community Edition is to create an ni.com account. Most of us here on the stream probably already have an ni.com account, so that's not a problem. But if you don't, it's free to create, and you can create one very easily. And the two versions that are available, as I said, is a 2020. It's a 32-bit version. And you can also download LabVIEW NXG. And we'll talk about a little bit later on why you'd want to use LabVIEW NXG versus the regular LabVIEW. Now, the licensing for LabVIEW Community it lasts for 1 year, and activation happens the same way as you normally activate LabVIEW software. For those of you that are familiar with the LabVIEW Professional Edition, it activates the same way, the same activation process. It lasts for 1 year, and after which you would have to renew the activation. So now, as far as how the licensing works, let me just give you just a sec to bring this up. course, I'm having some issues at the moment. That's what happens when you have a live stream. Okay, so apparently my my other solution for this crashed, so we have to come with a backup. So LabVIEW Community Usage Edition, this comes directly from NI's website, as you can see here. LabVIEW Community Edition can only be used for personal, non-commercial, or non-industrial purposes. So you can't use this for anything that's commercial, revenue generating or building projects. I know a lot of us in the chat are software or consultants or work for large corporations that already use LabVIEW internally and have a license for it. Of course, if that's the case, you can use your license at work. And I think there is an option, and we'll find out soon if you can use your work license at home. But we'll find out about that. But for now, it's limited to non-commercial, of course, and will always be. And you can if you can also use it for K through 12 education purposes as well. So you can use this license for that. And but however, you cannot use it for degree granting educational institution. For example, if you're using it for a class for college or university, and it's required as part of your class, then the college or university will have its own license and cannot use the Community Edition license. So here we go. It says K-12 primary, secondary school use cases, and any current licenses that K through 12 would be using will be replaced with this license, LabVIEW Community Edition. You could use it for clubs and competitions, such as First Robotics as well. Or now, if you are using LabVIEW at work, however, you want to use it at home, and you just want to tinker around with some personal projects and hobbies, then that's fine. You can use LabVIEW Community Edition for that. However, if you are working at home for your employer doing work, then you cannot use LabVIEW Community Edition. You have to use your employer's license. And there's a fine line and a distinction there that you have to be careful of which version of LabVIEW you're using and for what purposes. Nowadays, we're all working at home, so that has that line has been blurred right now. But in all intents and purposes, if you're working on your customers' projects or your employer's projects, then you cannot use LabVIEW Community Edition. So this is, if you want to know more details, you can go to this page, which is linked directly from the LabVIEW Community Edition download page. There's a link right here. It says who can use Community Edition. So that should clarify a few things. Now, the common question would be asked is, well, what's available in LabVIEW Community Edition and why is it so special? What is the difference? Well, there's actually no difference. For all intents and purposes, there's no difference between LabVIEW Community Edition and the off-the-shelf LabVIEW Professional Edition that you have grown to love. For those of you that are experienced LabVIEW users or new to LabVIEW, it's the same LabVIEW version that large companies or small businesses use to do their projects. It's the same LabVIEW version, same functionality, same features. It's not crippled in any way. There's no watermark of any kind in this LabVIEW Professional Edition. So that's great, and that's why I'm excited about that, is because you have the full power of LabVIEW at your disposal to use with this Community Edition. So let's take a look at it and see what's available. So here's LabVIEW Community Edition. If you look at the About screen, you'll see that it actually says LabVIEW Community Edition on the installation that you install, and it's of course the latest LabVIEW version has just been released, LabVIEW 2020. So I'm excited about that because there's a lot of new features in there for object-oriented programmers like myself. So you guys would want to check that out. So if you just want to get an advanced look at what LabVIEW 2020 is, download the Community Edition. You can see it now. It's been released before even the full Professional Edition has been released. So there you go. So a bonus there for the community. You get to use LabVIEW 2020 before everyone else. Now, what I have here is a small project, and of course, what is LabVIEW without hardware? It's just LabVIEW. So LabVIEW goes well with all kinds of different hardware. And specifically for the LabVIEW Community Edition, we have low-cost hardware such as Arduino, Raspberry Pi, BeagleBoard Black that work with LabVIEW Community Edition out of the box. So you can use this for your home projects, for your automation projects. You can connect it to Alexa and all these other devices to be able to automate your home. And you can program all of this with LabVIEw. And you can do that with Community Edition. Now, here I have a setup. I only have Arduino and Raspberry Pi. I don't have the BeagleBoard Black, but we have someone else standing by to show you that. So in this example, you'll see now one limitation with specifically with Arduino is that the toolkit, the Links toolkit that comes with LabVIEW Community Edition to communicate with this low-cost hardware, with the Arduino, it only works through serial, through a COM port, whereas the Raspberry Pi works in other ways, which I'll show you in a sec. So here I have an Arduino, and of course, we'll see if this this demo works. Hopefully it will. This I'm running this virtual machine and it's running a little slow. It must be because of the stream. I haven't tested it in this configuration. Let's close some applications here. Okay. And this VI is a very simple VI, and it opens a connection, outputs a digital line state, and then closes the connection. So this is a very simple example of how you can communicate with an Arduino. Now this open connection here, as you'll see, it has serial, it has other options. Take note of this local I/O. That's an interesting one. We'll look at it later. But this is how you do a basic setup for Arduino. So I have mine connected to COM3, so I'll connect that. And here you see on the Arduino, if I toggle this, oops, that's not live. Just one second. Of course, on the live stream, everything breaks. We cannot have a live feed of the Arduino. Everything seems to be running slower. So this is the loop rate currently that we have. No live feed. Okay, I'm gonna have to improvise. Improvise. Luckily, this is on a long cable. We have the Arduino here connected, and let's see if we can. Yeah, the okay, there we go. We have an LED. Toggling an LED through LabVIEW on the Arduino. Amazing. Now, the thing with this is that you cannot run it headless. You have to have it connected to LabVIEW and running through the serial port, of course. And this is fine for experiments or if you want to test out a concept. And for the power of the Arduino is that it has built-in analog inputs. So it has analog inputs, digital I/O right on the board. So you can right out of the box start acquiring, and it has SPI interface, serial interface, so you can communicate with other devices really quickly. You can, of course, add attachments to it called shields to expand on it, but out of the box, the Arduino gives you the benefits of acquiring the signals. If you want to do something that runs headless, then you would have to run, you would program the Arduino using like Sketch, which is the native Arduino language. And it's so easy to do that right now with to use Sketch. You can do it online. There's a web interface for it. Or you can do it on your computer as well. But it's very easy to do. But that's how you communicate using LabVIEW and Arduino. So the next demo I'm going to do, and unfortunately I can't pull that over, it's mounted on my table, is this program I did many years ago, which I was demoing an older toolkit for LabVIEW, but that's been replaced by this one, the Lynx toolkit, which is just an LED scanner, which you run it. And what this is doing is it's connecting to, hopefully we won't have issues with this one. There we go. It's actually deploying it right on the Raspberry Pi. And it's running, as you can see right now, it's running on a Raspberry Pi. I wish I could show you my camera that's mounted next to the Raspberry Pi has just died, so I can't show you that. But it would be scanning the LEDs. And you'll notice here that the Raspberry Pi shows up on the LabVIEW project environment as a target. So the Raspberry Pi shows up as a target, so does the BeagleBorn Black. and you can deploy to it. So right now, when you saw the deployment process, as we were executing the VI, LabVIEW actually deployed it to the target, to the Raspberry Pi, and it's executing on the Raspberry Pi. So what comes back to us through the Ethernet connection is just the status of the program that's running on the Raspberry Pi. This is exactly the same process that is done, for those of you that are familiar with it, with the cRIO or any kind of other LabVIEW real-time target. So it's exactly the same process, the same development environment configuration. So if you look at the menu here, you can see that you have a build specification. So yes, you can build an application, a real-time application. Well, it's not real-time if as kind of a cRIO in that deterministic sense, but it is running on the Raspberry Pi in the same sense as it would be running kind of on a cRIO or something like that, or a LabVIEW real-time target. So you would run it as a startup, deploy it, and then you could disconnect your Ethernet connection from the Raspberry Pi, and it would run standalone, as if you were running on any LabVIEW real-time target. The same approach. And that's where the power of this toolkit and using the low-cost hardware with LabVIEW comes into play. So you can use your favorite programming environment, LabVIEW, to develop embedded code that runs on the Raspberry Pi, which is pretty awesome. Again, no limitations. You can build, like we said, target the Raspberry Pi, or you can build standalone executables without an issue. That's all included in the LabVIEW Community Professional Edition. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break and answer a few questions from the community. So let's see what we have here. Okay, someone asked, are the toolkits for Arduino Raspberry Pi also available in Professional? The toolkits can be installed separately, I believe, in LabVIEW Professional, yes. Now, there's an interesting change to the licensing of the Links toolkit, actually, that relates to this. So you can now use the Links toolkit for professional purposes. So if you want to write code, so if you want to use, for example, the Raspberry Pi in a professional situation, where you want to use it to control or communicate with some hardware in a professional approach, then yes, you can use code developed with the Links toolkit in your professional applications. So the licensing allows that. So you would be using your professional license with the and the toolkit with that. You wouldn't be using LabVIEW Community Edition because, as we said, you can't use LabVIEW Community Edition for professional use. But the Links toolkit will not be installed by default on the professional. It will only be installed by default in LabVIEW Community Edition. Okay, looks like we have a lot of people in the chat. That's nice to see. Some people were asking, is VI Shots going to be back? Is this what this means? And I would say yes. VI Shots is back. We're back, baby. So VI Shots will be producing regular videos and hopefully on a weekly basis. It might not all be live. Because live is too stressful for me, as you can see, having some issues. But I will be interviewing people. I will be presenting other people's examples, creating new examples, investigating in-depth LabVIEW topics. Object-oriented programming is one of my favorite topics, so I'll be investigating that as well. However, I will be spending a bit more time than I used to before on kind of Arduino, Raspberry Pi, that low-cost hardware, because I'm an advocate of the community, and I want people to use LabVIEW. I want to spread LabVIEW adoption. Some of you may know that I'm the founder of the Lava Forums, the LabVIEW Wiki, and all of that is done purely out of the love for the community and the expansion of LabVIEW information. So the release of LabVIEW Community Edition is kind of, the best of everything that I could imagine for the LabVIEW community, to have a full-blown version of LabVIEW that anyone can use for hobby purposes, or doing their project, learning LabVIEW. Now, anything I present in my videos, you guys can try it at home. You don't have to say, well, LabVIEW's too expensive, or I can't download that. Well, now you can. You have no excuse not to use LabVIEW right now. Okay. So let me just, hopefully my, doesn't work. Okay, well, as far as the cost of LabVIEW, actually, maybe I can do it on this browser. Let's see. There we go. So if you're interested in purchasing a Raspberry Pi, you'll find that it's very economical, to say the least. So this is the homepage of Raspberry Pi, and not to knock Arduino, but the Raspberry Pi is by far the better choice, because you can download headless, onto it, which is awesome. So it starts from $35, which is simply amazing, and what you get with it is 2 4K video outputs. That's mind-blowing. 2 4K video outputs. You can get it up to 4 gigabytes of RAM. Gigabit Ethernet, USB 3. It's a quad-core processor. Okay, it's a quad-core ARM processor, which is amazing. For $35, that's unheard of. So you can plug in a monitor. You can plug keyboard, mouse. You can use it as a computer. And while you're running the headless LabVIEW application and it's communicating with its I/O, you can still use the computer, which is pretty cool. So, like, let's say if you want to create like a kiosk type of environment where you do have some software running. Now, it can't be written in LabVIEW on the GUI of the Raspberry Pi, but maybe in the future, we'll see. That's a feature request for an eye. So there you go, 2 dual K, 4K output. Okay, so if you want to buy it, for example, CanaKit is one of them that has it. Oops, I didn't show you this. CanaKit is the one that has it. And for example, just the board for 1 gigabytes or 2 gigabytes, it's the same price, so why not get 2? Well, for 4, it's $55, and again, that's a steal. The other kits basically come with power supplies and video connectors and things like that, so you probably need some of that, which you would have to buy separately. The startup process, I just want to let you guys know on one thing, is the startup process for this is, oops, it doesn't, there you go. I wasn't showing that. The startup process for the Raspberry Pi is a little tricky. It got me in a pickle, and that's something I was trying to figure out last night, and I figured it. SSH is not enabled by default on the Raspberry Pi. So if you don't have SSH enabled, then you cannot communicate with to it from LabVIEW. So that's the first stumbling block, and there's a lack of friendly dialogues to tell you that. So make sure you enable SSH on the Raspberry Pi, or else you'll have some issues. Other than that, it should work out of the box. And here's the homepage of the Raspberry Pi. I'm not sure if I showed you that before, but here's all the type of 2 4K outputs. So let's see if there's anything else in the chat. There's a lot of people answering in the chat, which is great. Thank you, guys. And please download LabVIEW Community Edition, try it out. Now, one thing that, oh, did I? Oh, okay. If you want to have a discussion about LabVIEW Community Edition, I would prefer that you go to Lava, because I'm a little bit biased. So we have created on Lava a LabVIEW Community Edition forum. And as you can see, it's front and center. So if there's any questions or posts, if specifically if you want to post your example code of, hey, this is what I did, and this is what I've discovered with it, you can post it here. And you can do that there. Now, I'd like to bring in a few guests I have waiting in the wings. And let's see if this will work. So we have, let me unmute you guys. Hello, Chris.
Howdy.
So we have Chris Salino, who's with, Chris, maybe you can tell a bit about yourself.
Yeah. So right now I'm a partner at Compose Systems, been out there for about a year, and I'm the president and founder of a nonprofit organization called G Central, started in about September of 2019. So first and foremost, I am honored to be on the inaugural recommissioning of VI Shots. This is kind of a big deal. I am honored to be with you all on this incredible day announcing LabVIEW Community Edition. I'm totally jazzed and stoked about this for all the reasons that Michael has said. I'm a huge advocate for us as community members growing our understanding and building off of each other's work and using some open source and free tools. I can't thank NI enough for this. I think it's going to be a real boon for our community. Along those lines, I have a real passion to see people work together. And clearly, Community Edition is going to give us a chance to all start to use each other's work. One of the additional elements I've been trying to bring into the LabVIEW community is code reuse and allowing us to share and find each other's work. And that's the whole entire point of gcentral.org. So if you guys ever get the chance to go, gcentral.org is a place where you can find VI packages, NI packages, and G packages. And it's very much in its infancy at this stage. But our vision is this would be your one-stop shop to find all of the packages that we're all going to be sharing with each other, rather than uploading a package to a particular website that you have to kind of know the bit.ly link, et cetera, et cetera. There'll be an overall indexer. Now, Michael, I don't know if I have the ability. Can I share my desktop?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's see if this works. Bear with me 2 seconds. There we go. Okay, hopefully you guys are now seeing the homepage of G Central. First thing I want to point out, we're super excited again about LabVIEW Community Edition, and you can see that right there at the top, that's where you can download Community Edition as well. Right below that, here is our indexer, and this is going to expose all the packages that are freely available to the community. So, sorry, that are available to the community. Some of them are paid for. That's exposed through some things on the tools network, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you can do really cool things like now you can search for things like what do we have out there that's JSON? And Michael, I think, oh, here we go. So here are all of the toolkits right now that are exposed through or built to handle JSON stuff. And we're scouring lots of different repositories rather than you kind of having to know the right place to look. So we're really excited to bring this to you guys. And we're also looking for folks to help us develop the website. Under support, we can actually go to collaborate, and you can see a whole bunch of steps on how you can help build out the website. Not only is G Central nonprofit, it is owned by the community and built for the community. So let's get everybody on board, and we want to own this together as a group. There's nothing stopping us but ourselves. That's kind of the way I like thinking about gcentral.org.
So you jumped into this as well, and you created a little project, right?
Yeah. So again, I'm super jazzed about Community Edition. I want to see people be successful with it right out of the box. Up here at the top is a bit.ly link that will redirect you to a Bitbucket that I have. And this is a pretty straightforward example of an alarm clock. And I've put the alarm clock together in 6 different lessons. The very first lesson is just a simulation. And I have comments all over block diagrams and links to link you everywhere. So let me see if I can't show you that right quick. There we go. In 2 seconds, let me swap what I'm sharing. Yeah. So this is actually lesson 6, and I have my alarm clock going off right here. I have a snooze button, and I, of course, have this running on a Raspberry Pi, but all of the lessons are designed to teach you the various concepts. Things like, here's a stacked shift register. Well, there's lots of information out in the community on what a stacked shift register is. So I'm trying to connect you with content that already exists, both from NI, as well as lots of other great resources like LavaG and the LabVIEW wiki. So I have comments littered all throughout the block diagrams to get you guys connected and up and running as quickly as possible.
So this is an example of when you create kind of a demo, how best to distribute it, right? How to get people to find it and
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have this one bit.ly link that links you to the Bitbucket. I also have an NI package and a VI package that you can install from the Bitbucket landing page. In the long term, I'd like to see these NI packages and VI packages be hosted by G Central so that you don't have to remember to go to Chris's Bitbucket page. And that's one of the whole entire points of G Central itself.
Okay, Chris, I appreciate that. And we have someone else as well on the line. We have Eli Carey. Eli, let me make you front and center here.
All righty.
So Eli Carey, maybe you can tell a little bit about yourself and what you do for NI.
So thanks, Michael. I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. I'm very happy to see this happen. I personally work directly with our leadership team to drive this through, and I think I want to thank all the many of you that weighed in, and I recorded videos of many of you testifying to the power and impact that making LabVIEW available for free for the community use could have. So thank you for your help and support. It's been almost exactly a year in the making, and we're thrilled to have reached this momentous occasion. I've been with NI myself for 15 years, basically the entirety of my career, managing our software roadmap, LabVIEW investments. But I'm also an enthusiast and a tinker and a hobbyist. So I come to you today mainly in the capacity of a fellow LabVIEW fanboy and eager to show off some of the things I've done with Community Edition, both just to kind of, all engineers like to show off their projects, but also hopefully to spark some ideas of what's possible. So Michael, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to give just a whirlwind tour of some of the things I've managed to do with Community Edition.
Sure.
So I'm a big home automation enthusiast. My whole house is automated, and the windows and doors in most houses are wired to a traditional, ADT alarm system. So cut those wires, and let me show you what we've got over here to make sure we can see this. So let me make sure I can share this. Sorry. This is, okay. So I'm a software guy, but I got dangerous with a soldering iron and made a daughter board for a BeagleBone Black. So a lot of talk about the Raspberry Pi. This is a Raspberry Pi 3. You can use the 4. This is a BeagleBone Black, which I like because of the density of I/O. I think it also has a lot of great ADCs on it. The Raspberry Pi has the advantage of a built-in HDMI port, which is nice if you want to have a tethered monitor. For my purposes, though, I want something that is just highly reliable, simple, and it's going to be hardwired to all the Windows and door sensors. So I have, and I'm hoping you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I have a port for each of the 16 zones in my house, and I had to do soldering to wire pull-up resistors and then connect those to the digital lines. And then just for the sake of this demo, I have this little jumper cable that I'll use to simulate closing a window or door sensor. So by default, you'll see that all my windows and doors are open in this demo. So now that you've seen the hardware, let's go look at the software quickly. Share my desktop. And let's go over to LabVIEW. So let's start with the software actually running on the target. So this is code I actually just put together for this last night. So it's going to be all in one diagram, and there might be a lot, but it's also simple and hopefully easy to consume because there's not a lot buried in sub-VIs. There's a fundamental producer-consumer loop, top right, that's reading the I/O channels, and you can see the ports that I've got all those zones mapped into. There's lots of great resources too. Like for example, if you want to see what pinout to use, you can go here in the help menu, and we've got a link where you can scroll down. And basically, I'm using all of the digital pins shown in green here for this demonstration. So I'm monitoring those. Notice too, LabVIEW 2020 has some really cool new features in it, including maps. So I also used the new maps features. So here I can, this replaces variant attributes, if anyone remembers using those as a lookup table. So I have a lookup table for when a pin number changes, what was the name of the zone, and then I can retrieve a reference to push that new value out. Before we get to that, let me just go ahead and run this. Now, a lot of people in the chat were asking about UIs. And so right now I'm running it in a debug mode. So it's actually going to download and install this software to the target. It's going to yell at me because I've already got something running there. I'm going to say, go ahead and kill that, start over. And so I'll have this nice front panel with the interactive LEDs so I can debug it, make sure it's working. But ultimately, I'm going to shove this in a closet somewhere, and there's no monitor connected to it. So naturally, it begs the question, well, how do you actually see it? So I'm going to answer that. But first and foremost, okay, it's updating the current value of every zone. And as I go through here, I believe this first one here is zone 0. So you can see as I open and close it. And I'm not sure if you can still see the hardware, but I'm just using this jumper to jump around between some of the ports, and you can see it updating almost instantly. So I've confirmed my system is working. So I really want to make sure you guys understand that while there is no dedicated UI on these targets, there is still a fantastic way to create a UI that I think is arguably even better and more flexible. So for that part of it, let's pull up the community edition of NXG. So in NXG, I created a web VI, and I just used PowerPoint to sketch up a layout of my house, and I put Boolean indicators for every window and door. So the rectangles are windows, the circles are like, that's my garage door, front door, etc. And I'm actually using the tag API, which is included. It's the system link tag API. So I can just reference tags by name. And if you go back into the code on the targets, here I'm specifying the system link cloud instance, which, by the way, during this whole work from home thing, we've made free for anybody to use for 6 months. You could also use RESTful HTTP calls, any way you would normally. Yeah.
So System Link, just to explain for a few people that aren't familiar with it. So System Link is a cloud-based system that NI provides, and you said it's free. Well, the trial is 6 months right now for 2020.
So System Link is a whole platform into itself for remote systems management and whatnot. But System Link Cloud is a service that we host so that you can have a public store for data or things that you want to host. So in this case, I'm using that. And yes, because of COVID, we've extended the trial for 6 months for this. And for me, rather than have to negotiate the direct communication or host something directly in the target, which you could do, I just chose to try out System Link Cloud. But I want to make clear, this is not the only option for communication. The other thing you might want to do is actually host the user interface directly on the target, serve it up on a local web server. You can certainly do that. By the way, I'm going to post in the chat a link where anybody who wants to see the finished product, they can actually pull up that UI in their browser and see for themselves how it's working. But anyway, that's being published there. And actually, when you go to the System Link Cloud service at systemlinkcloud.com, I'm already logged in, and I can go see the value of all of those tags in this data section. Oh, need my password. That's fun. Live demos, right, Michael?
Yes.
You would think I'd have my password memorized, but I don't.
I hid your screen.
Oh, it's
in case.
All password. No, you're good. You can unhide it now. Okay, so in System Link Cloud, there's basically two main sections I'll draw your attention to. One is the data. So that's the public location where I can store tags, files. In this case, we're looking at the tag values. And then also visualization, which is where I'll host and am hosting the WebVI that some of you might have clicked on the link for just now. So if I go back and I change the value of one of my zones, we can see that update here, but of course, not a great user interface. So if we go to our list of visualizations and look at our WebVIs, what I've done is I took that WebVI we saw in NXG Community Edition here. I built it as a component, and then I distributed that component as a package. And so if you go to the package configuration, I say build for a web server, and the output type is a package. And then from System Link Cloud, I uploaded it. And now anyone with that link can actually pull up this WebVI. And notice too, I mean, WebVIs do a lot of things that native front panels don't do. Like you can define how to resize and lay things out if you're pulling up on a phone or a tablet.
Right.
I haven't made this one super great for phones yet, because I just finished it a few days ago, or got it in this prototype state. But it's certainly, like you can see, for example, the swing indicator there is resizing, while these ones up top, they're not, but they know how to wrap for a phone layout. But anyway, with that in mind, now if I go back to my hardware, I can sit here and change where the jumper is, and you should see the history update. You should also see the indicators update. And so that's an end-to-end illustration of I can have this code running on a headless target, no monitor connected to it, certainly no development environment connected to it. It's shoved in the closet somewhere. It's pumping data out. You can use any number of technologies. I'm using cloud-hosted System Link tags, and then I'm serving up that user interface that some of you might have been looking at. You can see it in the stream, or you can pull it up locally. And that's just kind of give you an idea. All that's possible with the Community Edition. And yes, Chris, how did you guess my password? Very upset with you right now.
So is there a specific reason why you chose the BeagleBoard Board Black or Raspberry Pi, or is it just a personal preference?
So I've played with both. That's a really good question. I'd have to refresh my memory on the pinout. Oh yeah, well, if you just look at let me stop sharing my screen so you can see the hardware. And let's see here, am I still sharing? Nope, let me pull that back up. There we go. Okay, so I actually have another one here. So if you look at the BeagleBone Black, you've got a high density of channels. Right? You've got these two strips of connectors for daughter boards.
Right.
And then on the Raspberry Pi, you've just got that one header. And so I think it's just a matter of density of I/O for my purposes, where if I wanted 16 zones, I needed 16 digital lines. I don't remember exactly the number on here. I also think if you want analog input, that's built into the BeagleBone Black, where it's as you would need to get some sort of daughter board with an ADC for the Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with that because I had to buy a bunch of extra boards for the Raspberry Pi to do kind of analog in. But you're saying that the BeagleBoard has built-in analog in, so that's good.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the main, I mean, obviously we're trying to appeal to people that are trying to interact with physical systems.
Right.
So that's kind of our sweet spot. If I go back here, I'm fact checking myself live.
Because I just purchased this board, which I'm showing on camera right now. It's the, let me just bring up a bigger view.
Is that a daughter board for the Raspberry Pi?
It's a daughter board for the Raspberry Pi, and it has kind of analog inputs and a bunch of other. And notice these connectorized things on it. You can basically buy. You can buy sensors, relays, and plug them into the board. So you can buy like little relays, and here is actually a pressure transducer. I deal with I deal with some customers that have pressure requirements. So I'm seeing if I could kind of integrate some of that into my professional projects. So that's why I got the sensors. But yeah, so you can plug in relays, temperature sensors, pressure sensors, and there's a whole kind of aftermarket of add-ons and things that you can get for these boards. It's crazy.
Yeah, I will say, I'm confirming there are 7 built-in analog input ports on the BeagleBone, so that is unique for anybody that wants that. There's also I2C. There's clearly a much larger ecosystem around Raspberry Pi.
Right.
It's far more ubiquitous amongst hobbyists. But from my experience in using both with LabVIEW Community Edition, it's roughly a similar experience. There is the one point you brought up about enabling SSH on Raspberry Pi that is just something you got to be aware of. They updated that in recent distros of Debian as a result of security concerns. But otherwise, the programming experience is largely the same across the 2 targets.
Right. Now, you mentioned that this has been in the works for a while. I remember talking to you at an iWeek about this way back last year. So it's been in the works for a while, whereas I wanted to bring this to the public. So it's been quite a bit of effort internally. And the fact that not only is NXG available, but also the web module for NXG is also available to the community is amazing. And I know there was some discussion as to what parts of LabVIEW are going to be community. And I think I just did the brave move of basically just opening up everything and giving it to the community, which I really appreciate. And I think it's really exciting that all of this is available.
I think both you and Chris and many others on this call kind of epitomize the level of passion and enthusiasm we have amongst our user base. And I think a big part of the argument was we are limiting the ability of these folks to evangelize the merits of LabVIEW by not having something that the average hobbyist can use. And increasingly, we recognize that engineers take their tools home with them and they want to leverage their skill sets and personal capacities and personal passions. So we want to really empower the community to evangelize on our behalf and just to see the breadth of exciting applications that can be made possible by LabVIEW. This is, there was a couple comments in the community, in the chat. This is not a one-time thing like the 2014 version some of you may be familiar with was. This is now part of our standard build process. So we actually did a lot of work to bring this in as a supported mainline version of LabVIEW. In fact, it is very much the same feature set as Pro. A lot of the work that went into this was updating the links toolkit to make sure we could support the latest Debian distros and Raspberry Pi 4, et cetera, and fixing some bugs and longstanding issues. So this is not a one-off like 2014. You'll see updates and new releases in coming years for both LabVIEW and LabVIEW NXG. We're really excited about this.
Yes, so this is a kind of an ongoing yearly commitment from NI to re-up the community edition version every year after year. So that sounds really exciting.
Yep, we're really excited too. And I mean, this is a starting point. I think there's there's a lot of places to grow and expand from the starting point.
Okay, well, thank you, Eli. And folks, if you have any other questions, post them in the chat. See a lot of
Will links also support generic Debian 2C device? So AJ asked, will links also support generic Debian device? I think the short answer is it's going to be a no from NI. But one of, in terms of like the testing, the target specific requirements, some of the R&D folks are on the line that can add detail. But I will share one of our ambitions is, of course, we saw Raspberry Pi 4 come out recently. Safe to assume there's new targets coming, always in the works. So what we aspire to achieve is a state where you're not strictly reliant on NI to add support for some new flavor of the month in terms of these targets.
Right.
So one of our ambitions, and I don't want to set false expectations. It'd be very difficult to do right now, but one of our ambitions is to open up the targeting technologies to make it easier for the community to add support for Raspberry Pi 5, 6, 7, and so on in the future.
Right. So I think the support for that is part of kind of the driver that gets downloaded to, I guess, the device, right? So that is modifiable or not? I'm not sure. Do you know? like for example, if someone wanted to, if they had kind of programming experience outside of LabVIEW and they wanted to add a device, a new flavor of a device.
I think that's what we aspire to enable right now.
Okay,
I think the short answer is you're reliant on us for right now.
Okay. Because I thought I saw in the community there were some people that were doing hacks and things like that, but I have to dig that up right now. I'm not sure.
Hacks are always possible. I think we would risk setting false expectations if we said, yeah, sure, go add targets right now. I think it's a high barrier and one that we aim to lower.
Agreed. Okay, everyone. Well, that wraps it up for this first. That wraps it up for this first edition of VI Shots Live, and I apologize for the small technical issues that we had here, but this is the first live stream I've done, so I'm learning about this, and but we will be doing more. And like I said, VI Shots is back, and we'll be doing more videos. If you have specific content that you want me to cover, specific topics that you want me to get someone on to discuss with, let me know, and I will do my best. If you guys have any tips, or if you have something you want to show off to the community, do you have a project that you want to tell everyone about, a cool tool or a cool development that you've been working on, let me know and I'll showcase you on here. We'll bring you on, whether live or video. Yeah, so next week, the next video should be up. And I hope you guys have a great day, a great rest of your day, and download LabVIEW Community Edition now. Thank you.